Geek Out!
Ever watch the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Raw Deal?
No.
Yes.
Remember when he's like undercover and he's about to like presumably have sex with a gangster woman, and she takes his shirt off and he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she's like, "Oh my god!" and then he passes out, and so they don't actually do anything romantic after that for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember when he's wearing that exact shirt that you're wearing? He looks like the Bounty Man.
Yeah, and he's like, "You should not drink and bake."
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, this is another installment of Geek Out to be determined. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And we're continuing our little series on Indiana Jones. Our first episode, we talked about Raiders of the Lost Ark, so it seemed only proper this episode to talk about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Came out in 1984, also directed by Steven Spielberg, also co-written and produced by George Lucas. This, I think, for whatever reason, we can go into the reasons. This, I think, is...
I believe that's part of the point of the podcast.
Yeah, if not the entire. I think this always gets like named as the weakest of the original Indiana Jones trilogy. Would you guys agree with that assessment? I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still all enjoy it.
Yes.
But it is easily the...
It's no part 4.
It is no... I will still take Temple of Doom over Kingdom of the Crystal Skull any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. That's why they made Crystal Skull. They were like, we need something to get people to enjoy Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it's their secret. Like George Lucas is like, I got it. And when Kingdom of the... we'll talk more about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but like when that movie was like coming out, George Lucas was like, I always knew he was going to kind of have a weaker reception. I kind of endured the same thing with the Star Wars prequels. Like, yeah, because you wrote shit movies. You shit. So when, as you may recall, on the first episode of this, and if you haven't, go back.
All those moons ago.
Yeah, many moons. When George Lucas proposed the idea of Indiana Jones, or as he originally called him, Indiana Smith, to Steven Spielberg, he was like, well... it'll be a trilogy. It'll be a trilogy like Star Wars. And what Steven Spielberg didn't know is that George Lucas had not actually conceived stories for parts 2 and 3. And
You mean like Star Wars?
Yeah, exactly. And so when it came about, obviously Raiders of the Lost Ark is a huge success. It, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, earner in 1981. It outgrosses, what is the Bond film of 1981? For Your Eyes Only? Which, Bond being Spielberg's big professional aspiration at the point, and one of the inspirations for Indiana Jones. And so immediately, like in 1982, they're like, we need to make a sequel. And Lawrence Kasdan, who had previously worked with George Lucas on Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which was in principal photography at the time, refuses to do Temple of Doom because all the story ideas that Lucas and Spielberg come up with are too dark because they're both in the middle of like a divorce,
So there's Indy killing his wife.
Yeah. Though originally, like Spielberg wanted to, it was Lucas's idea to make it a prequel because he didn't want to use Nazis as bad guys again, and he's like, we need to go to somewhere more exotic, probably. And the original idea was that he would go to China, and like the big climactic action sequence would be Indiana Jones riding a motorcycle across the Great Wall. Chinese government in the 80s is a lot less friendly than the Chinese government now. A lot less friendly than the Chinese government of the 90s or the aughts as well. And they nixed that idea. They're like, you can't film in China. Fuck you. And they're like, okay. And so the subsequent ideas. What if Indiana Jones went to a haunted castle in Scotland and fought ghosts? And the idea of Indy fighting the supernatural, the dark, evil supernatural, led to the idea of Indiana Jones and I guess what was originally called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Death. Before it was changed to the more family-friendly, for a not as family-friendly film, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Mm-hmm. They decided taking the kind of the more supernatural elements and the Chinese the original Chinese inspiration. They're like, well, we'll start the film in China and we'll take it to that shit. We'll take it to India, and they decided to focus on like Thuggee cults because they, I feel like That was something that was present in the serials at the time, though the Indian government refused to let them film in India because they found the script offensive. And I think even looking back now, over 30 years later, it's maybe not the best representation of Indian culture. You
mean that dinner party wasn't enough to just smooth over relations?
Yeah.
In my
kingdom. So that's why the exteriors, the location shooting for Temple of Doom is mostly done in Sri Lanka, with the studio stuff filmed in London, like they did for Star Wars and for Raiders. So it just occurred to me we didn't mention that Eckhart/Porkins is in Raiders as the top man.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's the guy who helps.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's same dude.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sam.
Think about your future. Where you spit your dice. Yeah, and of course Dan Aykroyd's in this fucking movie.
Yeah, in the very beginning.
Yeah, the person that greets Indiana Jones at the airport when he's escaping Club Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
a nice tip of the hat to Star Wars, of course. Is Dan Aykroyd using a British accent and wearing like short shorts?
Oh, I guess I'll have to rewatch it again.
And it's the same year that Ghostbusters comes out, if you think about it, 1984.
Yeah.
Great year for Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, it really is. I think he marries Donna Dixon that year, too.
Yeah, because Animalized came out in 84.
Yeah. So, great year for Dan Aykroyd.
Great year for everyone.
Yeah.
Not Paul Stanley.
Dan Aykroyd's probably like sits like at home every now and then drinking his like not that great vodka.
But the cool glass that it
comes in the glass skull, yeah. And he's just
Where was the product placement for that in Crystal Skull?
Yeah.
I think it's even called Crystal Skull Vodka.
Yeah, come on, man. Where's that cross-pollination?
Come on, Dan, you were in one of the movies.
He's got to think on his like most private moments, like, man, 1984 is fucking awesome.
Yeah. And then he thinks that was 32 years ago.
Yeah, I've made
more Coke.
Yeah, I've made another Ghostbusters since then, and I showed up in a third. Yeah, but this isn't the Dan Aykroyd show. Not this week.
Nah. Maybe next.
It's to be determined. We will determine if we talk about. I always found it weird that the opening in Club Obi-Wan, like it's probably the warmest cold. Like inside the dragon's mouth, is there a huge thing of like horse girls?
It's a whole other fucking system. It's like a whole other world.
Yeah.
That's where Star Wars takes place.
Obi-Wan. Club Obi-Wan.
Again, this is their Bond moment. They want to make a Bond movie. These cold opens are them make. Last Crusade's not, but this is clearly
He's
like
in a fucking tux.
Indy's in the white suit. Tux. Very Goldfinger. Excuse me.
Indiana.
And it's just I don't know. The thing I remember most from this movie or from the opening, besides the singing, is
it's chaos.
The flaming shish kebab.
Oh yeah,
where he throws and the guy's like
and apparently turns into like an animatronic.
Yeah, and he like shoots off, and then like
so rigid.
The guy's laughing with the Tommy gun.
Yeah.
Introduce a short round in the beginning, I guess.
Yeah. Holy potatoes. Yeah. You find out like I have the novelization written by a certain someone we've had on the show.
Yeah.
Before James Caan.
Spelled right.
Yeah, spelled right, presumably. I still have it as far as I know. I need to check that out. But no, he wrote this motherfucker, or at least a novelization for it. And they go into like short round's background that his parents were killed in the bombing of Shanghai, and Indy catches him trying to pick his pocket, very Jason Todd like, and enlists him to become his contact. And I guess
Robin.
Yeah, and I guess he has that one dude that. His contact at the club that he's apparently gone on many adventures with.
Oh, it's I go first, Indy.
Yeah. You and I have gone on many adventures.
Yeah, that's why he's not in Raiders.
Yeah.
Clever. Now, why isn't Short Round in Raiders?
Yeah. We never quite I always wanted to see like an adult Short Round.
Hey, there's another Indiana Jones coming out.
Apparently, in 2 years? Something like that? 2018?
Like 2 years, yeah.
My God. And I hope that gets Spielberg his mojo back after the BFG. Because God knows we need him now. But
now more than ever.
Yeah. But it's I think everything you need to know about Temple of Doom, you can find that cold open. It's loud,
Mhm.
it's weird, it's chaotic, and it's a little more mean-spirited and darker than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And there's
Yeah.
a child this time,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
there are many.
Yeah, and it's like I like the opening, but there's like fucking like balloons falling from the sky and ice, and like there's so many like
Oh, yeah,
subplots.
the diamond.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, I remember me and my buddy Chris Lee always used to, at lunch, we'd always start laughing, and then we'd hold something up, like a drink, and they'd be like, what are you laughing? Like, what's that? And they're like, the antidote. And they're like, to what? To poison. You just drank, Dr. Jones. And we'd always do that, and they'd be like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like a carton of milk.
Yeah.
I could see you and Chris
Yeah,
doing that.
yeah.
That
was-
Narachi is such a short.
Yeah.
Okay, first things first. One of the strongest female characters in like movies is Marion Ravenwood.
Mhm.
How bad do they whiff with Willie?
Just, I'm right here.
Is she the worst thing in this movie?
I mean, she's loud. I mean, loud and screechy.
We're not sinking.
We're crashing. I remember somebody was like, and this is a good point. Somebody was like, that fucking, you know what's bullshit about the new Indiana Jones is the fucking nuking the fridge. And someone was like, look at the fucking Temple of Doom. Okay, they fall out of a crashing a plane that's crashing
In the
an inflated,
Himalayas, yeah.
in an inflated air. They get the fuck out of here. Indiana Jones has been doing this.
And they fall for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Indiana
isn't
Jones
like
been doing
they
this for a long
land.
time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
Although the nuking the fridge is dumb, but there's just a stupid stuff in here. But I think people, time heals all wounds, I guess. Movie wounds. But
And maybe we were just the right age when we saw Temple of Doom because I never
Indiana
hated
Jones. I didn't give a
Temple of
shit.
Doom.
Yeah, it's my brother's favorite Indiana Jones movie.
It's Brian Michael Bendis' favorite
yeah.
Indiana Jones.
I will say, for most of my memory as a child, I only remember like the second half of the movie. Like
that's a good point. I think a lot of people like
the
they
heart
just,
rip is what everybody kind of
Oh,
gravitates
yeah.
towards.
I remember hearing
like my consciousness kicked in like when Willie was trying to stick her hand through the bug.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Like that's where I was like, oh, okay, I'm awake.
Yeah,
I'm
we-
paying attention.
are going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the greatest shots.
you're right. Your
yeah.
other right.
One of the best shots in that movie, one of the most metal shots in the whole movie, is when they activate the spikes and that skeleton is on the ground and the spikes make it look like it comes
Oh,
alive.
yeah.
That's one of my favorite shots in the whole movie.
Much like
And
the
when he-
skeleton coming to life in Raiders.
Huh? Well, I was thinking about it like each movie has its super like gross out moment, at least in the original trilogy. This, the first one has a couple. The guy getting bladed to death is, you don't see it, but you see like a chunk of like just blood meat fly onto the thing, and Marion's like, ooh, after she guns down a bunch of Nazis.
Or
Which
the
is
guy
metal.
getting crushed in the stone crusher.
Yeah, getting
on the belt.
It's the same guy.
yeah,
Stuntman Pat Roach.
yeah.
Good job, Roach. Shout out to Roach.
Yeah, shout out Roach. And then this one, the heart rips. Like I remember everyone all like we were like 4th, 5th grade and stuff. We were talking about it, and they're like, "Oh, the heart rip's so gross."
To the point
so
where I
fucking
added it in my short film Zombie Night Theater. In the climax, the bad guy who's summoning these zombies has like a human sacrifice, and he's like doing the Kalima, 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 and like rips out the character's heart, and it's awesome.
For me, the scene that was always the hardest to watch was the bug scene.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah, it wasn't the heart rip. It wasn't the dude getting stone crushed. It wasn't crocodiles because all they do is like have rags and roll around.
Yeah,
The
Wilhelm scream.
yeah.
It's funny. As much as I hate spiders, the bugs don't. The one scene that I'm like, oh shit, is when that like millipede goes up
hair?
Willie's hair.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
part's
no,
pretty
thank
messed up, and and having to reach in, but like
Yeah. It isn't like I don't mind the beetles on Short Round's legs
and
or
like the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's gross, but like the heart rip is just like intense. That whole scene, and like you're saying that this movie is much more sinister.
Mm.
Like Indy is much more serious in this film.
Yeah.
Because again, it's dealing with like. I mean, you're going, the PG-13 rating. Like, you're going to see this, like, what Raiders is this, like,
Yeah,
breath
if
of
you
fresh
didn't-
air.
If you didn't know, Temple of Doom creates
Yeah.
the PG-13
Yeah,
rating.
it's like this and another movie like that both came out like the same year. Were kind of like the inspiration for making a new rating.
Yeah.
This one gets more credit. Popular. I can't remember. I can't
and
even remember what
Spielberg
the other one was.
actively campaigned for it after the backlash.
Yeah, I mean, because again, the infamous scene. We're talking about iconic moments in Raiders. This movie is more infamous moments.
Yeah.
The heart rip, the snake surprise or monkey chilled brains and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, monkey brains and the eyeball soup and all that kind of stuff. It's very like a weird not slapsticky, but it's very just like kind of like just off-putting scene.
It's a very uneasy film.
And it is like now, like you could look at it like growing up and you're like, it is like this super offensive take on like this idea, but it
was Gremlins.
Oh,
was the other movie. It's credited as the first movie to be released as PG-13.
But like the whole like thuggy cult and like dealing with this underground, these like this child slavery, like really fucking dark. And I think even watching it like when I was a little kid, like still not really like understanding how fucking crazy this movie is, and I do like one of my favorite moments in the Indiana Jones saga though is towards the end where Indy is cured of the where he's like drinking the blood of the thuggy or whatever.
Yeah, he's surrounded by the candles like a fucking like music
and
video.
He's like, and it's like it's like
metal.
It's they're playing Heart These Dreams in the background.
I was about to start singing How Do I Get You Alone?
And they start pouring the like that. It's like the corpse head with the tongue sticking out. It's like how you drink. Could you? I wonder if you could buy that. Like for
Come on, Etsy.
Yeah. Look it up, Chris. You're the look it up guy.
I'll already grab my phone.
And but one of my favorite moments though is when Indy is beating the shit out of Steamroller Man, and it pans
Roach.
up. It pans up, and Short Round's doing the exact same thing
To the prince.
Yeah, and it's
because as a kid you want to fight along with
yeah,
Indy.
that's so you get this great shot of them both trading blows at the same time.
I
And
do like the
that's one of my
children's
favorite
march
moments.
from Temple of Doom, the dun 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 dun. I think you can hear a lot of John Williams like Harry Potter score in that.
Hey Jake, you got $200?
Oh,
because you can get it.
let me see it. Sorry.
Forget the ukulele.
Yeah. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is.
There you are.
Oh my God, that thing is like that is straight. It's sold out.
Oh,
I mean, I wouldn't drop $200 on it. Let's see.
I dropped.
Oh,
three.
it's from Sideshow. Oh, nice.
Sideshow Collectibles.
They're
shout out to Shads.
yeah, dude. Let's get sponsored by Sideshow because they make some fucking beast stuff. There's a Skeletor thing coming out soon. That
Just
I
get
want.
us like one free thing a month, and we will.
The chalice.
Just pour ourselves out.
The chalice of Kali is the official title for anyone. Look at that! Look at that, man! Look at that bad
Yeah,
boy.
right?
Yeah.
It's a face only a mother can love.
Yeah. It's if you think about it, yeah, it's such a dark.
13 pounds? Damn, son.
13 pounds, little man.
Put that shit in my hand.
But again, there's some iconic like Indiana Jones on the drawbridge, on the rope bridge.
Oh, sure.
That's iconic. Indiana Jones
In hell. And the one guy's like, no.
Mola Ram,
Yeah.
Mola Ram, prepare to meet Kali in hell. And also, isn't this like the best shape of his entire life for Harrison Ford?
Yeah, I mean,
Because most of the movie is just
this
like
is the
not,
Doc Savage shit. Like the end of that is like Doc Savage, like
Yeah.
the one sleeve ripped off, the V, almost
Yeah.
basically unbuttoned the entire thing.
Yeah, there's a good chunk of the film where he's like not wearing a shirt at all when he's under in the black sleep of Kali.
Mm-hmm.
Indy, I love you.
I watched this documentary about ILM, the company that does the special effects.
Yeah.
Best.
Industrial Light and Magic.
Yes, they did the special effects for Star Wars, of course, and they did the special effects. Sorry, I just touched your knee.
Can I touch your knee?
Yeah. Can you read my mind?
Oh boy.
But they did the special effects for this as well, and that scene with the rope bridge where he cuts it, and you just see the guys dangling, about to be ate by the crocodiles or alligators, whichever they are. I didn't see their snouts, but
Crocs.
okay, they're crocs. But that shot in particular, where the camera's shooting down the wall, they had a whole section of it just because it was such a complicated shot for them to do. Because it should have just been an easy like picture-in-picture matte of the background and the foreground, but like because the guys are swinging and because they fall, they had to do like all kinds of like camera trickery or post-production trickery back in the days before computer editing. So like it was as a filmmaker myself who focuses on the editing side, it was really fun to watch Industrial Light and Magic work on that scene.
I feel like this scene mixed with the truck scene from Raiders is how they came up with the opening to the Phantom.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that be the case. Yeah. Apparently, Steven Spielberg, afraid of heights, he would have to drive to both, and he refused to cross the bridge, even though obviously they're shooting on this thing, and they've got tons of people on it. He's constantly refuses. He has
it's
that's
like how
not.
John Madden is afraid to fly.
That is the anti-Iger sanction rules because Clint Eastwood would have walked across.
Yeah,
he would have run across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have clung onto the bridge as it collapsed.
Yeah, and filmed it. And be
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay.
He would have been like, about time to meet Kali
Yeah.
in hell.
Could Mel Gibson have been Indiana Jones?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
I would have liked an Australian Indiana Jones.
Yeah, timeline wise, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The math checks out.
the other iconic scenes for this, I mean, the minecart.
Yeah.
The minecart is a pretty iconic sequence.
Was that ever made into a ride?
I mean, I feel like the ride at Disneyland is because you're in a Jeep, but you're basically, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's the fucking minecart.
Okay.
A lot of that kind of shit happens. And of course the shrinking room, the room with the spikes and
Yeah, that's very. There's some one perfect
Yeah.
shots in that, man.
Yeah.
There's some very Indiana Jones stuff going
I think
on.
that's
Yeah,
Lucas's favorite part. He was just like, oh yeah, this
It
is.
was like
And you
his
get the
trash
great-
compactor scene.
You get the
Yeah.
great moment with the hat,
Yeah.
which they parody in like Scrubs and everything else ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you get some Snake stuff in this, where she's like, Willie thinks it's the elephant trunk, and I told you, and she grabs it, and he's like, he does that. Harrison Ford does this thing where he does it in, which is one of my favorite moments in 4 because it like kind of this kind of seems like Indiana Jones again, where he's like, like this like weird kind of like I'm terrified. Where in real life he's not, at all. He's like, I got bit by a snake gardening once, it's no big deal.
I hate people more than I hate snakes.
Yeah, what is Harrison Ford really afraid of?
People. He is super like introverted and like high anxiety type.
Is he?
Yeah. You can see it in interviews. The couple times that he'll do like talk show interviews, he's always like leaned like really far away from the interviewer and like kind of sitting back in his chair, like almost as far away from the audience.
I would take that as he just doesn't like people.
Well,
not that he's afraid of people.
True. He's probably not actually afraid of people.
Yeah.
But like he has like serious anxiety issues. Like it's one of the things that gets people into acting. So they can work through those issues. But yeah, no, he in real life he's very like introverted and
in real life he's very jacked in this movie. He is so apparently though, because he gets dysentery in the first in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He that scene where he's fighting the dude in his, I guess not hotel room, but his like palace guest room.
Yeah.
And to get out of being strangled, he does the somersault. Apparently, he herniated a disc in his back.
Oh.
So between takes, they would have a bed ready so he could rest until they could schedule enough time for him to fly out to get that worked on.
Yeah.
So even in the best shape of his life, he still and theoretically
he gets beat up in these movies, man.
He really does. Yeah, he gets. I'll do some due diligence on Last Crusade and King of the Crystal Skull, but yeah, certainly these first two, he's getting fucking annihilated.
Yeah, and he's only getting older too.
Yeah,
making the movies, making the films.
Yeah, but no, I mean, of course, I think very famously, Spielberg marries, the actress that plays Willie. Yeah, he does all right. Does all right.
Do you think they don't talk about this at all?
Yeah.
They're like, we just never talk about the Temple of Doom.
They don't. Some couples talk about how they first met.
So how did you guys meet?
Space camp.
Yeah.
That tickled me.
I could have been your greatest adventure.
Oh God.
That entire sequence where he's just like, nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist. And basically he's talking about how he talks about how he fucks.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, really? Years of research.
Yeah, it's like, I don't need any of this shit. They're like eating apples and fruit, and you're just like, fuck off.
Yeah. It's a weird, it really is just a weird fucking movie. It's still an entertaining movie, but it's...
Once they get into the cult, that's a good indie film.
Yeah.
Once they get all the stuff leading up to, like Chris was saying, it's unfortunately pretty easily forgettable,
That first half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just weird.
Even
like,
now, it's just like a collection of shots to me, but not really even like a full story for the first half of it. There's the cold open, and then they do some stuff. They eat monkeys' brains, and then there's bugs.
Yeah, there's bugs and heart rips.
And then the movie kicks in.
So for you, the movie kicks in with like the shrinking room.
Yeah.
Which I think for a lot of people, that probably rings true.
Yeah, because then he gets back in the attire, and him and Short Round go on an adventure, and just
we get more Professor Jones this time around,
which is fine. But I mean, you want to see him in the classic.
Only Indiana Jones film where you never see him on campus, because he's trying to get the ashes of this Chinese emperor, which fails. He doesn't actually wind up getting or no, he isn't trying to get the Chinese emperor. He's trying to get the diamond.
Yeah, that's right. He has the ash. That's what he's,
because it's
on
the
that
ancestor
cool table
of
that
Lao
he's-
She. Yeah,
Lao She.
yeah. On the Lazy Susan. That's what you call it, rotating. Yeah. Does he actually? They don't actually get the diamond either, do they?
She takes it because the ice is going everywhere.
Yeah.
And she grabs the antidote.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't move." And then
the balloons come down.
Yeah, the balloons come down, and that guy like collides, and they go flying. And she like puts it down her shirt, and then like they get in the car, and she's like, "I'm not that type of girl." And then she drops his gun outside of the fucking thing because she's like, "It was hot, and I broke a nail." And like she goes in like death metal growl when she says that.
She also does the death metal growl when they're on the. Yeah, I hate water, and I hate flying, and I hate you.
It's like Kate Capshaw is metal's greatest thing. Isn't she in that movie Black Rain, the Ridley Scott movie with Michael Douglas? I think that's another Kate Capshaw movie.
Another Kate Capshaw joint.
Joint.
Honestly, the only other Kate Capshaw movie I know is Space Camp. Yeah, with Leah Thompson.
Yeah, it's a good move.
Yeah,
made me want to go to.
But
Space
I'm actually trying to remember now, like the diamond.
What happens to the diamond?
Does she keep
Where's
the diamond? Because obviously he gets the antidote.
Yeah,
he's not dead.
Yeah.
She grabs.
Did she find it in the ice?
Yes, yeah. Because and then she also finds the antidote. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Don't move," and he reaches down his shirt and gets the antidote. I feel like they get the diamond. I think.
I thought he just returns because that's the entire. Lucas wanted Indy's moral dilemma to be like, does he return the Shankara stone to the village?
Yeah,
or
because
does
is
he
it
take
fortune or glory?
Yeah. And for him, it's like, no, this belongs to, at the very end, he's resolved his crisis of faith. He's like, I understand its power now. Yeah, we knew you come back when life returned to the village. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wild.
I think it's in preparation and like story, like them trying to come up with it. Like it's a very Indiana Jones story.
Yeah.
Like it's super Indiana Jones. I would have preferred Ghost in a Scottish Castle.
What would that have been?
Well, he does go. You get to see him fight Nazis in a castle in Last Crusade.
Yeah, which I feel
with a Scottish man.
If you are Scottish lord, then I am Mickey Mouse.
The one hand, the way he insulted, like the sound, the punch sounds.
Oh,
in
no one
Indiana
punches
Jones.
harder than Indy.
Yeah, the punch sound effects in the Indiana Jones
Nobody
movies.
fucking hits harder than Indiana Jones.
Nobody does it better.
Yeah.
Nobody does it better.
No. Yeah,
those sound effects are just supreme.
Yeah, grade A beef.
The chicks look cream.
Yeah. Did you know that there was a deleted scene? I don't know if it was shot, but it's in the screenplay. Originally, and this makes more fucking sense, the pilots on Lao She's plane were just going to kill Indiana Jones and Willie, and they go back to do it, and Indy's, he's sleeping with the hat over his eyes like he always does, and an egg falls from one of the, because it's a poultry transportation. Oh, yeah. An egg falls, and sleeping Indy, without looking, like catches it, and it stops the guy going to the back with like the knife like in his tracks, and he's like, he motions to the other guy, and he's like, let's just get the fuck out of here. That's why they end up just crashing the plane instead of doing something more not as
pretty sweet,
wasteful.
Pretty sweet.
And there's other there's deleted scenes where Short Round figures out that fire wakes up people.
Kind of like the don't look at the power of God thing.
Yeah.
Like he just knows that, hey, fire.
Yeah, in the screenplay, one of the miners, one of the child slaves accidentally opens up like a vein like a molten vein, and so lava comes out and it burns one of the guards, and the guard kind of like snaps out of it before they drag him out to like feed him, I guess, the blood from the whatever that thing, the chalice of doom.
Jake read it.
Yeah.
I forgot it. Yeah, it was like the chalice of Kali or something.
Yeah. And that's how Short Round, originally figures out that fire frees people from the black sleep.
I just assumed that he was defending himself, and it happened to work.
Yeah. And
that's how I always interpreted it as a kid.
I love it. Indy too. He's like, "Don't worry, kid, I'm all right." And he winks and turns around and fucking cold cocks that motherfucker.
Dude, and those guys with like the corpse paint.
Yeah.
And like,
metal.
how many dudes does two? I already know it's not a rhetorical question. Does like Indiana Jones like throw in that like lava canyon?
Yeah. Well, one of the guys just overshoots it and fucks himself. Yeah. And then that one guy gets like thrown, and like the wheel comes down and just crushes that dude's sternum.
That dude plays Blanca in Street Fighter the movie.
Oh, really?
Ooh. Yeah. Chatal Lal is the character's name. Yeah, the one that it's implied he's the one. Him and Lola Ram are pulling the. Though in the original script, when Lola Ram gets burned by the Shankara stone, he wakes up from the black sleep of Kali, which means that he was just somebody that fell into it, and like. There's like a moment where he's like, oh, and like as he falls, like, where am I? And like gets eaten by crocodiles, I presume.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Great time for crocodiles in Raiders of the Lost.
Great year for crocodiles.
Yeah, 1984. Great year for Dan Aykroyd. Great year for crocodiles.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really it's an okay, as we're kind of saying this, we're kind of thinking about it. It's like, it is kind of, but I still love it. I mean, it's
just unfortunately sandwiched between The Godfather 1 and 2 of action adventure films.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What is it that takes you out of the movie the most? Is it just the sluggish first half? Is it the fact that it's not Raiders or Last Crusade? Is it Willie? Is it
for me? It's Willie.
Yeah.
Like just pretty much anytime she opens her mouth, I'm just like, ugh.
She's not a strong character at all.
No. I mean, she's annoying, but I think it's all over the place. The sense of fun is really gone in this movie. I think that's one of the bigger things.
Again, it's chaos.
Yeah, it's fucking chaos. It's not as fun, I think, it takes itself, and the movie's taking itself seriously, but like, it messes with the formula too much. Indiana Jones should be beating up Nazis or I guess Soviets.
Didn't work out that well.
Yeah, but I mean,
Do you think he'll go back to Nazis in the next one?
It'll be tough. It'll be tough. Yeah. So I think mostly the fun is gone. The fun is gone. It's got moments. Like I said, I'm not. I still really enjoy the Temple of Doom, but it is number 3 on the list just because. Hey, Raiders and Last Crusade are fucking great movies.
Number 2 in the series, number 3 in your hearts.
Yeah, and I will say your strongest example of spinach indie, like with the Raiders March, happens in Temple of Doom, when the prince is hitting him with a voodoo doll, and every time, and then when he finally gets he
turns and looks and
beats the shit out of Hal or Pat Roach, and then
it's also that's the one time he gets hit during the Raiders March too.
Yeah,
the one time, because then every other time he's just a fucking like roided out crazy motherfucker.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do like with the then he.
Nobody quite, and you hear it a lot in this film because just given the sheer nature that Indy is like, if there's any movie where Indy's put through the ringer the most, it's Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom.
Fuck yeah!
And he gets, to put that into perspective, he gets shot in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, he gets shot and like punched repeatedly in that arm,
wound. Yeah,
in that wound. What's the worst thing that he gets dragged in a tank in Last Crusade?
Yeah, almost dragged off a cliff. Yeah.
In said tank. He goes through the whole to get to the Grail, almost decapitated.
Yeah. Kneel, which also means tuck and roll.
Yeah, tuck and roll, not kneel. If you kneel, you're dead.
Yeah, because there's the blade that comes up.
Yeah, good thing he knew to move.
Yeah. No, I mean he gets pretty well. I mean, like his shirt's like in fucking. And if you think about it, this entire the bulk of the action in the second half of the film takes place over the course of like one crazy night. Which is
crazy nights. Yeah, it does.
Probably the longest night of Indiana Jones' life.
It's a pretty bad night.
Yeah, and again, he spends a night trapped in the Well of Souls with a bunch of asps,
and
then immediately goes to fight bunches of Nazis.
For like a night, he's somehow surviving on a submarine under a U-boat underwater.
Yeah,
so
develops skills.
Yeah. He's like Ultimate Wolverine.
Yeah. I always just assumed he snuck before
he just got in.
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
they didn't like lock it, and he's just like whoop.
Yeah, he's like like everyone else is so busy. Like no one else would be like, hey, go check to make sure it's closed.
Yeah,
if
Fritz,
it wasn't closed,
sure
we'd be dead.
Yeah.
And then he just pops out.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, he swims over there from the boat, in the middle of the ocean. It looks pretty choppy to me.
Yeah.
So.
But no, he gets
stabbed by the voodoo doll. He gets
stabbed by the voodoo
multiple
doll.
times.
He gets whipped,
burned, whipped,
beaten up,
poisoned. Poisoned
twice. He gets poisoned at Club Obi-Wan. He gets poisoned by the
poisoned twice.
Yeah.
Falls out of a plane.
He burns his feet.
Yeah.
On at the end of the mine cart.
Yeah, he burns his hands and feet and his side.
Yeah. You get that Harrison Ford scream. You can't.
Oh, his scream is it's
like
it's great. For me, the ultimate is when he's being poisoned. The video. It echoes all throughout. And he's like kicking out candles and shit. That fucking disturbed me, man. That disturbed me more than anything else. Was seeing Indiana Jones turn to the dark side. That's what disturbed me as a kid.
Where he slowly sits
and he's like laughing and
smiles,
shit. That disturbed me more than the heart stuff, more than the food, more than the bugs. I'm trying to think like what else does he gets fucked?
Yeah, which again is probably a holdover.
He falls almost free falls on the almost gets his heart ripped out at the end.
Yeah.
Andy, come on!
Now that I'm thinking about it, the reason that it didn't take place in the Scottish castle, speaking of the possession scene, is because Spielberg thought it was too close to Poltergeist, which he executive produced. And many say ghost directed. They say,
although he would never admits to it. He said,
I believe
Toby's
it's Poltergeist directed. Wah 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 wah.
No.
Not even that good.
No. Though I do love Poltergeist. That first Poltergeist is quite good. I never actually saw any of the sequels.
No, I didn't.
I remember seeing the third one, the one that takes place in like the big high rise.
Oh, in the apartment.
I think that's the third
3.
one.
I think.
I guess we'll just have to revisit it sometime.
Yeah. Maybe make that a TBD. Probably not, because I would just talk about the first Poltergeist and be like, all right, and then just like walk away. Yeah. I mean, it's. Well, okay, so we've gone over what takes you out the most. Let's flip it. What's your favorite?
Well, like I said, the seeing Indy and Short Round beat up their foes at the same time is cool. I think from the moment of where he becomes Indy again and Short Round gives him his hat back, and they're like, he does that like really dramatic turn. He's like right in the camera, like, I'm back, motherfuckers. Guess who's back? Skrillex. But from that moment on, like with the minecart, the minecart for me is a little too ridiculous, like a little too.
That is ridiculous, but the thing that tops it is the fact that they outrun water.
Yeah, and it doesn't go left or right.
They take a shortcut from water.
Yeah, take a shortcut from water. But I mean that's all fun though. Like we know, like it feels like the stunt show where he whips and he's like flying across the people firing the rifles at him and stuff, and saving the kids and. That's fun. There's plenty of great action stuff in here, but it's I mean, granted, if it wasn't for this movie, Last Crusade wouldn't have existed because they clearly go back to the roots, so. But like I said, it's still I still like the movie. I still watch it, This is like, I think you were saying with like when you watch one, you want to watch with Back to the Future, you have to watch all 3. I have to watch all 3 Indiana Jones movies. I remember I told this once, but I was sick. I had nothing like super serious, but my mom was like, "You need to go to like the doctor tonight." Like it was like in the middle of the night, or like after hours thing. And I was like, "I don't want to go." And she goes, "You got to go get this whatever it is checked out. Go and I'll let you stay home from school tomorrow, and you can watch all 3 Indiana Jones movies." And I was like, "Yeah!" And I like jumped in the car. It was one of my favorite moments.
Waiting on you, Mom.
Yeah, it was on VHS, and I sat there. undisturbed by time and anybody else with my little snack, and I watched all 3 Indiana Jones movies. And I remember it was one of the greatest moments and also one of the saddest, because at the end where Indiana Jones and Sala and his dad and Marcus ride off in the sunset, I was like, oh fuck, now I gotta go back to reality. Like, now this great 3 thing is over. But we did that a couple years ago at AMC.
I was still in grad school at the time. We AMC did a marathon of all 4 Indiana.
That's right.
Yeah. So many people left after Last Crusade. But the
well, I remember we had a serious talk because it's like we've all seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in theaters.
Yeah.
But I remember we all kind of had like that same moment. We're like, yeah, we did, and then we all kind of looked at each other and were like, but we can't.
Yeah.
We have to stay for all of them.
Yeah.
And it turned into a RiffTrax, just that everyone was just laughing and having a good time.
Yeah, it was you, me, David Carter, and TJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Still
you still can't remember what David.
I think David said I think it was during Temple of Doom, not Last Crusade, but I think he said on Facebook. But either way, he was the perfect dude to sit next to, because that guy's a stand-up comedian. So like that was fun.
Yeah.
And the little lanyard was
upset
the
guy turns around. He's like, "What are you, some kind of comedian?"
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
And then the lanyard with the little times and stuff was the idol.
Yeah. So that was that may have been the last time I've seen all 3 Indiana Jones films. But what would you say your favorite memory or favorite moment in Temple of Doom is, Chris?
Well, I always harken back, and it's easy because it's everyone's favorite moment. But the heart stuff is probably like, whenever I think of Temple of Doom, it's that, and then closely followed by the minecart. So those are my go-to moments. The heart thing, like, that's fucking metal as shit. Especially the first time they do it, where they actually lower the guy into the pit and his heart catches fire. Like,
While Lola Ram is laughing hysterically.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that.
For me, it's probably the rope bridge. I think the rope bridge was a great way to end it, and just that's a very big kind of genre trope or pulp trope.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. And of course, Lola Ram, prepare to meet Kali in hell.
Oh no! What are you doing? No!
Oh my god!
Short round. Hachi Hatsutanza. Oh, lady, we're in for a ride. Is he serious? No, he's crazy. That's Indiana Jones I know right there. I'm trying to think of some other shits. But no, this was always, for me, it's this poster. The poster for Temple of Doom is the Indiana Jones poster I remember the most, where it's like him kind of like wincing while like staring, like his giant head, and you see all the very Drew Struzan, like all the people.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, you've got Lola Ram and Willie, and I remember the local Chuck E. Cheese had a mock-up of it with Chucky doing the.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah,
because we have the same local Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah,
all 3 of us do. Because there's only one.
Yeah,
because the big head Indy is like, he knows what he's in for in this movie. He's like, man, this is gonna be a fucking rough. This is gonna be. I'm gonna get beat the shit out of it in this movie.
It was at that moment that I knew that I was gonna have one hell of a summer.
For me, the one perfect shot is when it's more of a GIF than a single frame, but it's when they're pushing the minecart and the light catches Indy when he's like back in like Indy mode, like he's back in control, and the light just kind of shines up on Indy, and he's just like staring, glaring, ready for them to show up. That, I think, is the coolest shot in the entire fucking movie. I mean, the only other one I can think of is where he's like standing on the rope bridge with like the machete in one hand and like beat to shit.
Well, there's that moment where he like punches that dude, and he's just standing there like at the end of the thing, and he's just looking like a boss hoss. I think Mulder Ram holding the flaming heart is up there. I think I'm trying to rattle through. I think just a shot of like him passed out in the plane with Short Round is a pretty good shot. Like it's just him and Short Round and Willie,
or him waking up in the candle room.
Overhead stuff. Yeah, I mean, my favorite though is the spikes. There's that great kind of like wide shot of him him in short round and the spikes coming up, and that shot of the skeleton like looking like it's coming alive, like it's that trick where you're like, hey, it's Indiana Jones, maybe this thing fucking is alive, and you realize no, it's the spikes coming through,
and the skulls falling from the top spikes,
and he's like using it to like stick, to slow it down. They're just crushing pounding him in the dust.
In the gears, yeah. And
that's probably my favorite scene. I think now that I think about like the spike scene is like that, like something about like, and it's not something that happens like in every movie, but like the spikes coming out of the floor and Indiana Jones stuck in that room. It's claustrophobic. Like that just seems very Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
like every movie has that moment.
And the scene where he always grabs his hat at the end, I always kind of like catches my breath for a second. I'm always like, okay, like even though I know he'll always get his hat back just fine, I'm always like.
The best.
That's when they finally make the movie where the Indiana Jones character dies. It's gonna be like he loses his hat, and like that's gonna be the.
It'll be like the feather in Forrest Gump. Na 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 na.
Also directed by Steven Spielberg.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
Shit, why did I think it is?
Directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Is it produced? Did Steven Spielberg have anything to do with it?
I don't think so.
Well, go fuck me. That's it. I quit. I'm no good.
Zemeckis.
Allied.
My favorite Robert.
out this now. But what was I going to say? Oh, I mean, the best is we'll save it for Crusade. But my favorite, I think probably my favorite hat moment. Yeah, and it's just the look on his face.
Well, he's almost exhausted.
Well, he is exhausted.
Yeah.
No, almost about it.
Yeah, but it's the look of shock, like, oh, come.
All right, I'm still in it. Fine.
Yeah.
I thought I lost you, boy. I thought you did too, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys got anything to add about the Temple of Doom before we sign off?
Nope.
Nah.
Well, this is
it's the weakest, but not a piece of shit.
Yeah. Enjoy it. Watch it. Give it a rewatch. Yeah. So this has been another installment of Geek Out TBD. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
Thanks for listening. This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.